Okay, seeing no hands. The adoption of the agenda as presented today is before you. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt that agenda? Councillor Watt, Councillor Watson, all in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. The minutes of August 4th, a special meeting and a regular meeting on the 4th of August. Those minutes are before you. Deputy Mayor Moher will move that, and Councillor Landsman will second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Is there any business arising out of those minutes from anyone? Okay, seeing no hands, we will move forward. Delegations, petitions, presentations, public meetings. County of Peterborough, their year-end update is in the form of a video, which you have all been presented with, and which is available on our website. So as opposed to playing that again, we do remind people watching this video that you can go on the township website and indeed see everything that council is dealing with. All the reports and the videos are there. So could we have a motion, please, to receive that 2019 year-end update and 2020 objectives from the county? Councillor Landsman and Councillor Watt. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Other business and staff reports. I am going to take the liberty of going right to item 9.8 because Naomi Farrow is with us. This is about the Daleview Road project. So Naomi, you are here. We see your name. And just to try to save some time so you don't have to be here all night, although I'm sure you would love to be, we're going to start off with that report first. So, Jake, do you want to start it off about the project, then turn it over to Naomi?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Jones and Council. This report is an update for Council regarding the construction of Daleview Road. As Council will recall, at the June 30th, 2020 meeting, I provided a report to Council on the tender for Daleview Road. At that time, Council awarded the contract to Drain Brothers and that the cost of the project be spread over 2 years in 2 phases. Council also requested that staff meet with the contractor with a view to finding any cost savings for the project. One area reviewed for cost savings was the construction of an armor stone wall in place of a geogrid system for slope stabilization. It was also anticipated there may be some cost savings by utilizing an alternative guardrail system. However, upon further review, it was identified that the original design of the guardrail system is the safer and better suited to be used with the armor stone wall. The armor stone wall will be a far more attractive design. Cost savings with this method will be over the coming years in maintenance costs. The contractor has proposed an alternative for the surface treating of the proposed roadway, which is an Everlife Flex Municipal Thin Life Asphalt in lieu of the traditional surface treatment. This alternative is being proposed as it is tailored to volumes and climate conditions of rural urban roads with low to moderate traffic volumes. It's engineered to provide enhanced resistance to low temperature cracking of the mix. The contractor has proposed this alternative surface at the same cost as the originally proposed surface treatment with a 2-year warranty. Albeit there is no immediate cost savings to the township. However, it is a more cost-effective alternative to surface treatment. This product will produce a longer life cycle with less maintenance, which negates cost savings over time and provides a more durable finish. The contractor is proposing the use of the armor stone wall and the Everlife asphalt surface while staying within the original contract value. With the combined package of both the wall and the surface, the realization of savings would be in the maintenance of these 2 items over the coming years. In conclusion, in consultation with the temporary CAO, I am recommending that council approve the alternative road surface. Recommendation that the Public Works 2020-16 report dated August 24th, 2020 regarding Daleview Road project update be received, and that council hereby approves the Everlife Flex Municipal Thin Asphalt as proposed by Drain Brothers at no additional cost to the township. There will be no additional costs, no financial impact, as there's no additional cost applying the alternative road surface proposed. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, Naomi Farrow from DM Wills is joining the meeting and is available to answer any questions council may have about this project.
Naomi, welcome to council meeting. Are there any comments you'd like to make about the project?
No, we've been working closely with the contractor to make sure that we are able to provide a cost-effective and valuable project for the local municipality, for their township.
Okay, thank you. So Naomi is here and Jake is here to answer any questions you may have. The floor is now open to council members for questions. Go ahead. Carl, go ahead.
Thank you. Part of our attachment, there was a phase project cost evaluation, and the bottom line here was an amount that ended up at, I think, I'm not sure whether there was highlighted numbers and non-highlighted. Were the highlighted related to the pavement changes, or what were the highlights there for? There didn't seem to be a legend a part of that attachment.
Yes, so the highlighted items identify where the changes were from the original proposed costing breakdown and plan. So after discussion with the contractor, for example, we moved the sub-drain work into phase 1 because this work made more sense to combine it with the underground storm work. So that was highlighted to show that it was moved. The other highlights indicate adjustments that were made to allow for the change in the cost between the soil stabilization and the road work in replacement, as well as keeping and staying within the original contract value. So it just highlighted the differences.
Carl?
So there's basically no change to the bottom line price of the contract. I got a couple more questions if I could go ahead now or later. Or...
I'll go ahead. I don't see any other hands up, so we go ahead.
One of the things that we mentioned as part of the rollout of the management was you people will be assigned to receive complaints from neighbors and so on relative. Will we be getting monthly reports back at our table here relative to complaints for during the project and how you dealt with them, so that we're up to speed with what's maybe happening?
Yes, so the plan is to meet regularly with the on-site team as well as Martina and Jake, and we will provide any notification as soon as we receive any complaints, be it through Wills or the contractor. The contractor has provided emergency contact numbers, so they may be contacted first, but we will provide that information and those discussions. As soon as we receive it, we'll make sure that we're updating Jake and Martina with the information.
So I guess, Martina, will we be getting a copy of those, a summary of those complaints on a regular basis?
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, if those complaints warrant council's attention, we would bring them to your attention immediately, but
Okay.
Hopefully they will not warrant your attention. We'll be able to deal with them at the local level.
I wonder if we could, I'd like to see them anyway, whether they warrant or non-warrant, I guess from my standpoint, if that would be possible. My third question is, during that June meeting, there was some discussion about possible reduction of the management fees by DM Wells. Naomi, I don't know whether you work in the estimates part of your business or not, but has there been any discussion about being able to modify your original estimate of what that management cost would be? Has there been any discussion or any hint of that?
With the changes in the phase work, at this point, we have maintained our fees. We have not made any adjustments in the duration of the extension of the project. As far as our approach, I was unaware that there was a discussion that we were to review our fees for lowering them.
As I heard it, there was some anticipation that there may be some modification because the original estimate was an original estimate, and at least that's what I heard. Maybe others did not hear that. Thank you. That was all my questions.
Sheila, go ahead.
Yes, through you, your worship, to Jake. The photographs you sent, Jake, they were all taken of the roads that were done last June and July. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Councillor Landsman.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else with any questions? Tom, go ahead.
Just a question on the service, the new service treatment. I know from past experience, we've had areas where we put 2 coats on, and within 5 years, we have to put a 3rd coat on to save it, or it starts to break up. So on. How does this new service treatment work? Is it along the same line? It's going to be a certain length of time. We're going to have to recap it again, or is it a longer time, or do we really have a lot of information on it yet?
Councillor Watts, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of information on the on this product because it is relatively new. It is almost like an asphalt surface. It isn't like your traditional surface treatment where you have the tar and the pebbles. So I foresee it being there'll be low maintenance on it, that we won't be scraping that stone chip off in the wintertime with the snow plows. There's a solid seal on the top as opposed to being porous with the surface treatment. Like I say, the pictures that I provided, that's well, roughly a year old, that project north in Apsley, and it looked very, very, very good.
Yep.
And I might add, it comes highly recommended from people who we, I believe, can trust their judgment on, and it's a major improvement from what we understand. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Jake. My questions are also focused around the material that's being recommended. I'm seeing here that the contractor is committing to warranty their work within that for 2 years. Is this normal for them to warrant work for 2 years?
Councillor Watson, no, it is. I believe this is special circumstance. They're providing the 2-year warranty to try and get this product out. They want to have some sites available for people to see and see how it's performing. So I believe this is on a normal circumstance, it would be a 1-year warranty.
All right, and just another question around the material. I see that the recommended use for this is on rural roads, or I can't remember the other terminology, but kind of semi-urban, I think, or something to that effect, a rural or residential. I'm wondering, we know that historically there's a lot of traffic volume on that road just due to it being a bit of a cut-through road that folks use. Is there any consideration that, once the road is in perfect repair, that volumes of traffic will potentially increase, and what the impact of that will be on this particular material?
I believe that the low impact or the low traffic volume is more, and rural is more, they're referring to more not like a Highway 7, not like a highway where there's a high traffic volumes. I think they're just they're trying to market it to the rural area, much like the surface treatment. And it's not made for high traffic as Highway 7 or Highway 28.
Sure. As someone who does marketing for a living, marketing is a funny thing, isn't it? But I am a little bit concerned about potential traffic volume. Again, going away from the surface treatment typical application where you do have that chip kind of surface and less rough. I think it could lead to increased speeds on that road, especially, any surface at this point will lead to increased speeds because right now you can't drive quickly on the road. But having said that, while we're doing this work, has any consideration been put in place around recognizing that it is a residential neighborhood and traffic calming measures that could be built in to the project that will help mitigate any future problems?
Councillor Watson, no, there hasn't been any discussions on that, but that is something that we can definitely look at nearing the completion of the project to slow the traffic down and make them aware that it is a built up area.
Fair enough. And my last and final question, Jake, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me this time, is around just the timing of the project. So phase one, looking at the schedule and time that we have left in the construction season, is there any concern that we won't be able to get phase one complete this year?
Councillor Watson, no, I believe Naomi may want to speak on that. She was speaking with the contractor recently and has written or guarantee that the project will start and finish at the said date.
That is correct.
So you're not concerned about that, Naomi? Good.
No.
Okay, solid.
So, Your Worship, I'll move the recommendation that's before us at this point.
Okay, moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Landsman. Discussion on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Thank you, Jake, and Naomi, thank you. You're welcome to stay with us till midnight if you care to, but I got a feeling you don't want to. It's okay. Nothing personal. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to 9.1. And this is a report about a mandatory face covering policy. Martina, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as council is aware, based on the other reports on the agenda, we are working towards reopening the township office and other municipal facilities. In light of the directive from Dr. Salvatierra that was passed on August 1st, face coverings are required in a wide range of public settings. Staff have been aware of this directive through staff meetings and emails. As we work towards the reopening, a policy was needed to provide direction and guidelines on the use and disposal of face coverings, as well as direction on how to interact with the public who may be using face coverings and those individuals who may be exempt from wearing face coverings. The policy attached covers all of those topics and provides resources to council, staff, and the public on this topic. This new policy will allow staff, council, and the public to be educated on the use of face coverings as per the Public Health Directive, and as a way to reduce this risk of spreading COVID-19 to others when physical distancing and keeping 2 meters apart may be challenging or not possible. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have on this new policy that's before you.
Okay. Sheila, go ahead.
Thank you. Whoops. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Martina. In the introduction, I have 2 questions. One really neither here nor there. In the first sentence, should we be adding singing to be technically correct? And the second last line, wearing face coverings has not been proven to protect the person wearing it, but instead can protect others. There seems to be concern as to whether or not that is a fact. And I wonder if we do need that line in there. I checked with several different websites and nobody wants to say conclusively that it does or doesn't help.
I would be, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to take that line out if that was the direction of council. That was the
Yes.
information that was presented at the time of writing, but
That's just my thought.
Just to poke in, should that not be led by our medical officer of health?
through you, Mr. Mayor, when this policy was drafted, that's where we took this information from.
They're the experts, they're the doctors. That's all. We have to have one source that we can trust, and that appears Dr. Salvatore is that source. Go ahead, Councillor Landsman.
Thank you. I'm not questioning it one way or the other. I'm just suggesting that I don't think we should suggest that a mask doesn't help a person, because it does help both people. That's just my comment, and the policy does not hinge on it. That's just my thought.
Okay, any other comments on this policy before I ask for a motion, please? Okay, seeing no hands, would anyone care to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Go ahead, Sheila.
I'll make a motion to follow the recommendation and approve the policy as presented.
Councillor Watson, you'll second that?
Yep.
Any discussion on the motion? And again, a reminder, anyone watching live or the recorded version of this meeting, please keep in mind that all these reports in their entirety are available on the Township of Douro-Dummer website. So we're not trying to skip over anything. Everything is there for you to analyze. Motion is on the floor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you. 9.2, Martina, again, this is about heat stress prevention and a hot weather policy. We're hoping we've seen the last of the hot weather, but maybe not. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this summer's extreme heat wave made management aware that we did not have a clear and concise policy regarding extreme heat situations. This new policy outlines an approach for staff who are frequently exposed to high levels of heat stress and hot weather. It provides a framework for utilizing engineering controls, acclimatization, working conditions, work and rest cycles, personal protective equipment, and fluid intake. Furthermore, it includes definitions of heat-related disorders and helpful resources to manage heat stress and labor. This policy will allow management employees to be educated regarding proper heat stress prevention, health and safety protocols, and to ensure their safety when working in extreme heat conditions. The recommendation that is before you is that the policy be approved and incorporated into the township's policy manual.
All about health and safety. Comments, motions, please. Councillor Watt, go ahead.
I will make a motion that we follow the recommended policy and implement it into place.
Seconder to that motion, please. Councillor Landsman, call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you for that. And Martina, a triple play. Municipal office reopening plans. A very complicated issue these days with what's going on in the world and in the country and in the province and in the township. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will go over my report in depth, just as it is a complex report, and I want to provide all of the information to council and any public that may be watching. So staff have been diligently working on reopening the municipal office and facilities in a safe, effective, and responsible way. At the staff meeting on August 18th, various topics were discussed, including mandatory masks, opening procedures, and the best way to deliver services to the public while keeping the public and staff safe. The goal is to reopen the office the week of September 8th, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Peterborough Public Health has provided multitude of resources to organizations to utilize while working on their reopening plans. We've taken advantage of these resources by ensuring that we have provided the most effective safety procedures possible. At the start of the pandemic, we had the majority of staff working remotely with its skeleton team in the office. As we've learned more about COVID-19 and with the softening of gathering regulations, we've introduced more staff into the office in a team's approach. Where possible, employees have worked from home, with a number of staff in the office being controlled by space allocations and the need to reduce risk by splitting the office into teams. All employees at every worksite complete a screening process before entering the office, and curbside deliveries and transactions are frequently utilized. The team's approach has been successful in maximizing physical distancing and ensuring that we are properly staffed to serve the needs of the community. In late July, a staff survey was circulated to poll staff on their comfort level and safety concerns with providing in-person services, the method to provide services, entrances, cleaning, washrooms, and more. In-person services will be provided that are similar to our pre-COVID-19 services, including any type of payment transaction, retrieval of garbage stickers, burn permits for those who cannot use the new system, the sale of blue boxes and composters, access to the roll book, and other front counter services. For more specialized services, such as complex questions regarding planning, building permits, or taxes, patrons will be requested to book an appointment to ensure that staff will be able to effectively address their concerns. The preferred method for appointments will be by Zoom or phone. In-person appointments will be the last resort for those who need accessibility accommodations or who have other concerns that we can't address through those means. We've worked hard to ensure that the best physical controls are in place for our staff and our customers. Glass barriers have been installed at the front counter, along with changing the layout to ensure that physical distancing for customers is possible. Some changes to the office space include altering the layout of desks, moving staff to other spaces, creating one-way routes through the office, and having staggered days in and out of the office. Furthermore, staff have updated policies and procedures to ensure that everyone is provided with the right tools to stay safe. We've already spoken about the mandatory mask policy earlier in this meeting, and that was created to provide guidance and training to staff as they work through this new process. Additional IT support has also been implemented to ensure that staff working from alternative locations are able to work effectively while also protecting the security of the township's information and systems. Staff have created a front counter procedure for administrative staff to utilize when we allow patrons to enter the office. When patrons enter the vestibule, there will be signs that provide information on the transactions we will be providing and how to enter the office. Automatic door openers were installed on the vestibule and office doors, which allows staff to open the doors from a distance for patrons while reducing the need for patrons to touch the doors themselves. Patrons will enter through the vestibule, complete their transaction, and exit through the town hall in order to prevent more than one patron in the main entrance, maximizing physical distancing. There will be no more than 2 patrons in the office at one time, and we have created 2 appropriate transaction areas to accommodate the necessary distancing required. These procedures have been tested by staff and have been shown to work and will maximize our safety protocols. Touchless hand sanitizers have been placed throughout the municipal office and the town hall, and each employee has been provided with face coverings and personal hand sanitizers at their desks. Staff have been trained on how to properly wear face coverings, proper hand and sanitizing techniques, physical distancing, and cleaning practices within the office. We have also increased our cleaning customs, ensuring we wipe down surfaces after every use and use disinfectant spray on all handles and high-touch surfaces at the end of the workday. These reopening policies, procedures, and processes for the municipality are essential tools to ensure that the reopening of the office is done in a safe and smooth way. There are additional resources. There may be additional resources and changes that need to be made on these existing practices, depending how the initial weeks of opening go, and whether there are any changes to the existing public health guidelines and regulations. The recommendation that's before you is that this report be received and staff continue to monitor any changes made by public health officials, which may directly influence the day-to-day operations of the municipality.
Thank you, Martina. Very thorough and very responsible. Any questions from members of council over that report? Carl, go ahead.
I just want to thank Martina and senior staff, well, all staff, for the details here. Very comprehensive. And when you're ready for a recommendation, I'd be happy to include it. But Martina, can I include in my resolution that to look at reopening on September 8th, or is that premature right now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the plan here in the office is that we open the doors on September 8th.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get a press release out at the end of this week.
Okay.
And then we'll see how our first week or 2 goes and go from there.
Okay, so no
So
need.
that is in the report and the resolution. Yeah.
That is our game plan.
Okay, if you want to make a motion, Carl, go ahead.
Sure. I would move the recommendation and plan to reopen September 8th.
Seconder to that, please. Heather, is there any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Thank you very much for that in-depth report, Martina. As I said, it's the responsible thing to do. And we don't know what the new normal is going to be, but it's probably not going to be like the old normal. So we have to move on. Okay, moving to item 9.4. And this is going to be Vicky for the next 3 items. So Vicky, I hope you brought your bottle of water with you. 9.4, ice floor rental policy for the recreation facilities. And Vicky, go ahead. You're muted, Vicky, sorry. There you go. No, maybe not. We still don't hear you unless you're just moving your lips. No. Is the master volume perhaps on your computer turned down? Try it again. We'll see if we can hear you. You're certainly not muted. We know that. Okay. We're going to move ahead and see if Vicky can solve this problem. We're going to move ahead to community safety zone number 9.7. Jake, you are on maybe a little earlier than that you thought you'd be, and we'll let Vicky work on the situation. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Safety review of County Road 4 and Water Street, County Road 4, Water Street, was requested through the county as a result of a collision that occurred on or about July 24th at a property at West Street and County Road 4 intersection. The vehicle was traveling southbound on County Road 4, Water Street, in excess of the posted speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour, lost control and drove through a residential fence and front yard, impacting with parked cars in the driveway, resulting in property damage. In 2015, this particular section of Water Street was reconstructed with an urban road cross section that included new asphalt road surface, storm sewers, concrete barrier, curbing, and pavement markings to replace a semi-urban cross section. Often with a new road, it may result in vehicles traveling at increased speeds. On August 19th, 2020, I met with Peter Nielsen, Manager of Technical Services with the Peterborough County, to review the site conditions with a view to what effective mechanisms could be implemented to assist in addressing the frequency of traffic speed. The conclusion was that we discussed the possibility of designating the roadway a community safety zone due to the proximity of several community facilities in the immediate area. This would also entail a speed reduction from the current posted 50 kilometers to 40 kilometers. Designations of community safety zones are used in areas within a municipality where there is a concern for safety of children and citizens. The design standards for community safety zones is contained within the Ontario Traffic Manual with respect to road signage. Once this zone is established and endorsed by a municipal bylaw, fines for speeding under the Highway Traffic Act are doubled. The recommendation is that the Public Works 2020-15 report dated August 21st, 2020, regarding the community safety zone, County Road 4, be received, and further that the Council of the Township of Douro-Dummer formally requests that the County of Peterborough to establish a community safety zone with a speed limit reduction to 40 kilometers an hour for the following road sections: County Road 4 from County Road 38 to English Line South, County Road 38 from Ford Street to County Road 4. There's no financial impact to the Township of Douro-Dummer, as all improvements would be at the County of Peterborough's expense.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Some very nasty driving habits seem to be seeping into every road, regardless of where you are. This is a small step for increased safety, and we thank you for looking into that. Any questions on that report? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Sheila, you're muted, please, Sheila.
Make a motion to follow the recommendation as presented.
Carl, second.
Yep.
Any discussion? Thank you, Jake, for that. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Jake, we'll stay with you now about the supply and delivery of sodium chloride for Public Works, if you want to go ahead, and then we're going to try Vicky again.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. This year, the Township of Douro-Dummer participated in tenders for the supply and delivery of sodium chloride for a 3-year term with the County of Peterborough. The township has entered into an agreement with the corporation of the County of Peterborough to supply and deliver the Township of Douro-Dummer sodium chloride for stockpiling at the Public Works Sand Dome. The estimated annual quantity of sodium chloride required is 280 tons. The county awarded the contract to K&S Windsor Salt Limited based on the following prices. Year 1 is $83.24 per ton. Year 2 would be $86.49. Year 3 is $89.94. Further, the delivery of the material was awarded to Core the Capital for $2,689.40. The recommendation is that the Public Works 2020-17 report dated August 20th, 2020 regarding the supply and delivery of sodium chloride be received for council's information. The financial impact based on the quantity required, this will be within the township's 2020 budget for materials for snow removal.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Very detailed. Carl, go ahead.
I'd move the recommendation and I have a question.
Do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Watt, go ahead, Carl.
The joint tendering of this with the county, we do that for a number of items in the county. I imagine there's a fair amount of savings in both time and energy and costs by doing it this way. Have you any comments on that, Jake? Or maybe someday we should take a look at how much it is saving us.
Yes, Deputy Mayor. It does save a lot of time for staff to not have to prepare the tenders. The county looks after that, and I'm sure if we were to sit down and look at the time and resources required, it would save quite a bit of money.
Thank you.
And, it's all about working together too. And I think there's many more areas that we can look at, whether it be with the county or neighboring townships. So I think that's going to be on the horizon for all of us. Martina, did you have a comment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was going to echo what you just mentioned about working together and what Jake's mentioned as well. When we're able to go in and piggyback with the county on these types of purchases, it does save us quite a lot of time and effort, but it also saves us a lot of money. When we buy in bulk, we know that we get much preferred rates. As a small township, we don't have the volume of services and buying power that going in with our neighbors in the county afford us. So it is a great service, and we're very pleased to be able to partner with them on this and other things as well.
Yeah, and let's hope we can increase that thought process too in other areas. Okay, that motion is on the floor, made by Carl, second by Tom. Call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Okay, Jake, thank you very much. That's your 3 subjects in a row. And now we're going to go back to Vicky. And isn't it fun when we have little technical glitches? But it certainly happens to all of us. So Vicky, we see you. Now the question is, can we hear you?
Thank you, Your Worship.
Whoa, you're very low, that's all.
Oh,
A little closer to the, yep,
you can hear me though?
that's good. There is something that should be turned up, but we are hearing you.
Okay, great. So there was a need to have a nice floor rental policy in place to ensure that all individuals and groups were following a standardized approach to renting, collecting payments, cancellation, and covering our insurance requirements. Earlier this year, Council adopted the ICE allocation policy. So that policy defines the order of sequence for those requesting ICE time. This policy outlines the process of how to book and the terms and conditions the renter will agree upon. So you do have the policy in front of you, but as a quick overview, all the bookings will be taken from the admin staff or online in advance and with a pay before you play approach. Renters must show proof of liability, insurance, or be charged a surcharge for utilizing the municipal umbrella policy. Rules for cancellation have been included in the policy to eliminate the last minute notices. In addition, the policy outlines what is permitted and the expectations of the dressing rooms and the auxiliary spaces. Lastly, the policy identifies enforcement, and this will ensure that renters know that there's a standard structure in place and the township is prepared and tends to follow it. Thank you.
Good. Well done, Vicky, and it's good to hear you. Comments? Go ahead, Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Vicky, your report that prefaces the policy doesn't speak to whether or not there was any consultation with user groups, although I did see in a later report that you have on the agenda that you did spend some time consulting user groups on this. Can you just confirm that there was some sort of consultation with our core user groups, and is this practice that was more or less happening anyways, or are there any major new changes here that we should be looking at?
Thank you. So currently when I arrived here, there was no structured policy in place. So it was really hard to follow what groups, what individuals had different agreements, different processes in place. So it was my interest from the early on to create a rental policy, which is normal for most municipalities to have. So with consulting and looking at other municipalities, what they have in place, that's sort of where I guided my structure of the policy itself. The policy has not been portrayed to all of the user groups at this point until it's approved. But I don't believe that it's their choice to make the steps in the process. As the manager, I feel like it's my place to present that to you with my recommendations and then move forward explaining it to all the user groups.
Sure, no, and that's fair. I appreciate that. I guess my concern with consulting the user groups isn't so much as creating the policy, because you're absolutely right in terms of the tail wagging the dog. We should be creating the policy and then bringing that forward to the groups. I guess it's more so communicating what we are looking for, because this is a change and when we'll be implementing that. And I don't see that necessarily, like, will we be doing it effective immediately or, start of 2021? Like, what's the rollout plan for it?
Ideally, the rollout plan would be when we first issue the ICE contracts. So going back to when we have those blocked user groups, ICE contracts, we would meet with them typically in a meeting setting with all groups, outlining the new rules for cancellation, payment, and so forth. This way, it might be via Zoom, but all user groups will be committed to all of these terms and conditions and spelled out directly to them.
Yeah, and good point, Heather. And I would certainly endorse a good, solid meeting with all the user groups. Just what you're getting at, I think, to explain everything and get their input so that everyone understands. Yeah.
That's all I had for questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Anybody else on that report? Carl? You're muted, Carl, there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Vicky. You've done a lot of work here to put this together, and I think it is essential for our municipality to have something like this. And there's various things in here I think I'm not comfortable with that should be considered. And I wish we had committee of a whole that I find working on Zoom, it's difficult to debate things because turning it into a debate structure when we as council should be more or less approving something that's been debated to death. And I think this is one prime example of that. And I don't know whether to present all my questions now or whether it's best to defer the whole thing and have a special meeting, or why would you want to proceed with this, Mr. Chair?
On this one subject, Carl, you mean on this one
Yeah.
report?
On this
You're
one report?
suggesting a special meeting?
Well, I'm not sure. There may be other reports in over the next 3 that we have issues with as well. I can start and see what happens.
Yep, go ahead, ask your questions. That's what
Okay.
Vicky's here for.
Item number 3 in the policy, it mentions that all ice time rental will be done online, over the phone, or with administrative booking staff or municipal office. I guess I'd like to see on their community center staff as well, because if somebody is renting and they want to repeat it for next week or the week after, and they see the manager or deputy manager there, should they not be able to do that without having to get through the booking staff or the municipal office? I think that would be one suggestion. Item 4, all eyesight rentals or alternatives must be completed through the manager of Parks and Rec with no time traded or booking to occur between individual user groups. I'd like to add, unless through the manager of Parks and Rec. I don't think we have any opposition to it. It's just that you're part of the decision making. Is that not part of what you want to say there? That would be, I just think the way it is, it's just tends to be black and white. And these are our customers, and I think we want to just work with them to make sure that they completely understand that as long as you're part of the decision making, that would be appropriate to do that. Item 2 on page 2, users that request a book time on a statutory holiday should be required to pay an approved prime time rate. What's the thinking behind that? I guess if it's minor hockey and it's a holiday, why would we want prime time on a holiday? Or what's the reasoning for why we would add such a thing? And I guess that's where the debate should come in for us as councillors and policymakers. And I just, just find that, some of the best tournaments were over the Christmas break, on Boxing Day and perhaps on New Year's Day and so on in the past. All tentative ice floor bookings, item 4, all tentative ice floor bookings are held up for 24 hours only. Payment in full and signing of a rental contract is necessary in order to guarantee a booking time. I guess if we can book and pay for it by Visa, I guess that's somebody can pay for it by Visa online. I guess that may not be an issue. I just find that 24 hours is not a whole lot to hold something for. Would maybe 3 days or might be, or 2 days or 3 days might be more appropriate. The next thing is terms and conditions, insurance. User groups who do not provide their own liability can get pay a surcharge for getting insurance through the township. What is that surcharge? What's the current surcharge approximately? Because we get into in the past, a lot of times where families want to rent over the Christmas break, a couple hours, 3 hours or whatever. I'm sure they wouldn't have proof of liability for 2 million, but what is the surcharge that they would be expected to pay? Those would be some of the things that we could get more information about, but before I'm comfortable passing this. I think the last on ice rental cancellations, all user groups found wishing to cancel blocked ice times previously confirmed must do so prior to October 1 or be responsible for the said hours up to the March 1st of the season, including full rental payment. I wonder if it could be, could add possible responsible for the said hours up to March 1 of the season in line 2 there. Because if we can rent it to another user group, that might be easier language to because things happen with people on block, whether it's a league falls or something else. But as long as we get the money from somebody else, shouldn't we be satisfied with that? And I guess the last thing that I wanted to mention, or second last thing, is auxiliary space use. Organization using the facility will be responsible for spectators attending their events, including admission, conduct, and control. I think we have a shared responsibility there. Like if somebody comes into our rink that we own and we have established the policies and they aren't conducting themselves responsibly, I think we have a shared responsibility there. Yes, the users have some responsibility, but I don't think they have it all. So I'm just not comfortable with that. The last thing is the municipal, it's in the municipality will enforce in enforcement of the terms of condition by a verbal warning. I'm having trouble with the second one, following by a 1-week suspension of ice time, whereas deemed necessary at organization's cost. I think I would sooner be more comfortable with a written warning, just to charge them ice time and not let them use it. I think could be perceived as very high and mighty. It seems to be more punitive. The other 2 items in there, I have no trouble with. There are my comments.
Okay.
I realize, Vicky, you've done a lot of work on this, and I think it's a good approach that we should be taking. But I think there's things there that we need to think about before we say this is a policy.
Well, I'm certainly going to recommend. I mean, there's been a lot of detail there, and I think Vicky needs an opportunity to analyze that as it relates to her report. Vicky, I might ask you the details of this report. Is this very unique to Douro-Dummer, or do other facilities? Is this common practice? I'm not sure.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, it is. Nothing is out of the norm. It's fairly common practice. I can address some of those, or if you'd like, I can follow up at another time and address more of those.
Yeah, I really think we're going to have to have a special meeting on these items regarding the parks and rec and facilities and arenas, if we're going to get into this much detail. Other members of council, you've had the report as well. What is your feeling? Did you have a number of things that you wanted to add as well? Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think, first of all, it's a great report. And I believe that with it being standard sort of throughout the industry, it's probably something we should consider, because I think we've been so lenient in so many ways.
We have
that and Vicky's absolutely right. It needs to be structured so that if you call, what you're going to be charged for. And possibly if everyone emailed their questions to Vicky, she could come up with an answer, or as you say, Your Worship, a special meeting. But I think it's a big thing, and I think it needs to go ahead. maybe a couple of modifications, but it's a good report.
Okay, no, thanks for that comment. And, we'll probably be here till 3 a.m. if we want to go through every detail. So
No.
let's call a special meeting. Martina, note to self. We will have a special meeting devoted to the subject now. The next two items, the facility upgrades and the reopening of the community centers. If members of council are also going to question detail on those, then that could be included in that special meeting. So I would like, okay, Martina, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just for this special meeting, can this be a daytime meeting as opposed to an evening meeting?
I would suggest that would be fine. Yep. It's available on Zoom and everything anyway, and is being recorded.
Very good. And
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, another question. Will you be asking councillors to send all of their questions in advance so that we can prepare the
Yes,
appropriate information?
they've all gone through this in detail anyway, like Carl has, so I'm sure they can forward it. You want it sent to Vicky or to you, or how do you want that?
You could send it to both of us and we can coordinate the meeting and
Good.
see what we
Okay,
need.
so send your detailed comments that way. Carl, go ahead.
One other thing, before this meeting, it would be helpful to maybe have input from major users. Now that I say input, it doesn't, we don't have to agree with their input, but at least have it.
Mhm.
I support the concept of policy, and certainly we have been, we need policy because it has been less than ordinary in the past, and we got to move forward with it. But it might be helpful to have that input from the major users.
Well, we're certainly not trying to hide anything, so I've got no problem inviting representatives of minor hockey or
Okay,
normal. Yeah, we're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to work together on this. And okay, could I have a motion then to proceed along those lines on this subject then? Tom?
Yeah, just a quick question before
Are
I do
you
make a
making a
motion.
motion, Tom?
Well, I just want to ask about the second one. Like it's for tenders. Like, do we really need to discuss, is there anything on tenders or are they pretty straightforward? We can actually do that one and just discuss the other two.
You want all three in this special meeting then? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just thinking 1 and 3. I don't like, I don't think the middle one with the tenders is necessary unless someone has a lot of questions on the tenders. I know we've already discussed it quite a few times. I think this is just a matter of.
Well, that's up to council. Obviously, you've got concerns over that. So what would you like? I think one general, I mean, we can do that. The middle one isn't that technical.
No, we've already gone through it already, and made some recommendations and motions on doing it and doing the office or part of the office and doing the community centers and where we were going to allocate the money and stuff. So it's almost kind of like a done deal.
Well, then let's have
So
a motion to refer items 9.4 and 9.6 to a special meeting as soon as possible.
That motion I would make.
I'll second that.
And Carl, any discussion? And remember, it goes with that will be your submission of all your comments to Vicky and Martina prior to the meeting. That's the motion on the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Watson.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Sorry, when we were talking about creating a special meeting, I thought it was just for item 9.4 until my colleague, Councillor Watt, suggested putting others in. So I'm looking at 9.6, and we're talking about reopening the community centers in light of everything that's going on with COVID and trying to get those community centers open for mid-October with the ice in. Do we not need to deal with that sooner than later?
Well, it's what you call later. If we have a meeting early next week, I think it's still appropriate. That's up to council. We have a motion on the floor. Carl, go ahead.
I support the motion. I think I've had a phone call regarding some of the items in item 9.6. So I think it's appropriate to maybe get the user groups involved and get ourselves together and get a meeting in the next 2 weeks.
Within the next 2 weeks, Martina and Vicky, is that reasonable? Within the next 2? Heather, are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, I suppose, like I say, my concern is around reopening the community center and trying to move forward with that and what staff need in order to be able to move forward if their plan is to do that for October 15th.
They also need some support over these changes too. So it's going to be even tougher to implement these changes if council aren't going to support the detail. So let's get it done. Okay, the motion's on the floor to move item 9.4 and 9.6. Is that right, Tom? To the special meeting as soon as possible, within the next 2 weeks. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Let's go to 9.5 now about facility upgrades and tenders. Vicki, we're finally going to hear you again.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to follow up on some additional information moving forward on the capital upgrades at the community centers. So at the August 4th council meeting, a report was presented regarding the tender for the paint. That also included the municipal office. The recommended bidder and the addition of the engineering costs for the designated substance report put our request over approximately 14,000. Staff still feel that it's essential to move forward on this painting tender. So it is requested that we utilize the department's capital budget that's allocated for the tables and chairs in the facilities, which is roughly the same 14,000. And it'll balance out the that cost. And fortunately this week, we did receive new chairs. New chairs were delivered at the Douro Community Center from, with credit going to the Douro Seniors Group. They received a grant and went ahead and purchased new chairs. So that does keep us on track with the replacement of those chairs has been done for us at no cost. So secondly, it was presented to council to retrofit the washrooms with the automatic flushers and faucets. This was an additional upgrade that was previously not budgeted, but in light of COVID, we felt it was worthy to assist in eliminating those frequent touch surfaces in our public facilities. At the time of last council, staff suggested deferring the rubber flooring at the community centers, but since we've learned that the provincial funding the township received for COVID relief would meet the criteria for this usage and cover this added cost. Lastly, I'd like to report on the tender for the replacement of the sports rubber flooring. A tender closed on July 31st. Staff received 5 bid packages in response. The bids received were from Caliber Sports Systems, M&M Carpet, Wellmar Recreational Products, Advantage Sport, and Gymcon. Staff spent some time comparing their specs and sample qualities. And although it's not the lowest bid, the bid in the product of Caliber Sports Systems is preferred and meets all other requirements. So staff would like to proceed and move forward on installation prior to the facility's opening. So in the report, the recommendation before you is that the paint tender be contracted, be awarded to the GM Painting, and further that the facility upgrades, including automatic flushers and faucets, proceed under the provincial COVID-19 funding. And further that the flooring tender contract be awarded to Caliber Sports Systems. Thank you.
You're muted.
Carl, go ahead.
I would move the recommendation and I have a comment.
And Heather, will you second it?
Actually, a point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Point of order.
Yes, perhaps the clerk can provide some clarification on this. This was an issue that council had addressed on August 4th as the manager of recreation facilities had identified. Do we need a motion to reconsider at this point? Because the motion was already passed that gave direction on how to move forward with this.
Okay, I'll refer that to Martina because quite honestly, I haven't got a clue what you just said. Go ahead, Martina.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just have a moment to check our procedural bylaw.
Okay, go ahead. Are there any other questions that now that Martina is doing some checking on the report that we've heard? Go ahead, Tom.
I would just like to add in that we, and I'm sure it's already been done knowing our staff, but send a very special thank you to the group for supplying chairs for us at no cost to the township. That's something like our fire department does with the equipment that people don't know about, and it's nice to acknowledge these things.
What do you do with the old chairs?
We still have them. They're the blue ones that there's plenty of. The new purchase were similar to the upstairs of the Douro Arena chairs that have armrest and are more comfortable than the older ones that we have.
Okay, what I think we'll do then, we have a motion. Do we have a motion on the floor before Heather?
So it was not seconded, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we don't have a motion on the floor.
No.
Okay, what we're going to do then is take a 3.5 minute break.
Sure.
I will ask Nicole and or Vanessa to mute everyone and turn us off and just stay where you are. Don't do anything. And we'll be back in 3.5 minutes. Okay, everybody, we are trying to get back to normal here. Once I see everyone's face on the screen, we will continue our meeting. Okay, we are going to call the meeting back to order. Councillor Watt, are you there? Councillor
Well-
Landsman.
It says that the host has me blocked from starting my video.
Okay, Carl's back on. Nicole and Vanessa, I believe you're in control of things. There we go.
There.
Okay, Darlene's there. Good. Okay, Martina, go ahead and answer that point of order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your patience while I did this research. First, I'd like to start off by reading the resolutions from the last meeting, August 4th. So first resolution is resolution number 278, 2020, moved by Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Moher, that Recreation Facility 2020-09 report dated August 4th regarding public facility improvements be received, and that council approves the retrofit of the washroom facilities with automatic flushers and faucets at the community center and directs staff on financing the upgrades. Defer flooring to finance cost of retrofitting. The next resolution that was passed at that meeting was resolution number 279, 2020, moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Landsman, that Recreation Facilities 2020-10 report dated July 27, 2020, regarding paint tender be postponed for further information on work to be completed and priority of work. Based on those, definitely the second resolution, it does ask staff to bring back a report on priority of work and work to be completed. I believe that the report before you answers those questions. And then the resolution prior to that, 278, 2020, asks staff to defer flooring to finance the cost of retrofits. The retrofits are now being financed by the province. And so that is why Vicky has brought in that item back to our attention. So I don't believe it needs a reconsideration because this new information answers those questions from the previous motions that council had made.
Okay, Heather, are you happy with that explanation?
Most certainly. Thank you.
Okay, could I have a motion then, please? Carl,
I'll move it. I got a comment when you seconded.
have a seconder, please. Sheila, go ahead, Carl.
Okay, just a question. We have other washrooms in the township, like at the town hall and perhaps the Works Garage and so on. Because the province is paying for this retrofits, should we be considered changing them all?
That's kind of outside the motion that's on the floor, but
Right.
Martina?
Through you, Mr. It is outside the motion. I'd be happy to discuss it after this motion.
Okay, can we address the motion that's been made then? Duly seconded? Tom?
Just a quick question. I believe in the first place that did come up also because there was a large number of them. And I thought they were all under the same umbrella, but I'm not sure.
Well, the money we got from the province was designed exactly for that purpose, and that's what we're trying to utilize. Okay, the motion that's on the floor. Everyone clear on that? Heather?
I have a question on the motion. One of the questions that was discussed last meeting around painting was just concerns about being able to get the painting done in the community center before the ice went in. Are we concerned that this might not be able to be done still, or are we able to move forward with it with the time?
Vicky?
If we proceed with the approval, we'll be able to get it done. And with the possibility of the delay of opening of the facilities, that buys us a little more leeway on that as well.
Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. Tom, this is the item that you thought was just going to go through very easily. Never say that. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Now, Carl, if you want to suggest something else.
No,
A
I
motion?
just, I'll ask the question of Martina. Is that something we should, and I don't need an answer now, but there appears to be maybe an opportunity there to upgrade the fixtures in our other buildings that are owned by Douro-Dummer at this time. And I would appear that that kind of expense does qualify. So
Mhm.
it's something that maybe by next meeting, we could take a look at.
Utilizing the provincial money that was meant for that type of reason. So you're okay with that, Martina?
Yeah,
Okay.
through you, Mr. Mayor, we can look into the number of fixtures outside of the community centers and see what that tally looks like, and then bring something back to council.
Thank you.
Might be other things too.
Definitely.
So we'll tap into it, so to speak. Okay, we're going to move right ahead now to 9.10. And Darlene, welcome.
Hi.
You haven't had much to say here lately, so we're going to hear you now. FCM funding motion change. What is that report? And you can explain that to us, please.
The purpose of this report is just to change the activities that we will be using the FCM funding for as compared to the efficiency funding. Public Sector Digest has let us know that the process and the allocations of the FCM funding is much slower this time. And in order to not hold this project up, if we could just change the activities, we could move forward with the efficiency funding and then use the FCM funding for the second half of the project in 2021. So basically the report is exactly the same as what I had put in the report previously, only I did change those, the items that we will be doing in the years. And the reason that we need to have it exact is because we have to provide this motion in the application for the FCM funding. I guess I'll comment too, this is a cleaner way of doing it rather than putting in the funding application and then changing it. She's finding that a lot of the municipalities have had to do that, and it just makes it messy.
And we don't want to be messy.
No, we want the funding if we can.
Great. Okay, everybody's tuned in to what we're trying to do. A motion would be appropriate. Anyone? Go ahead, Heather.
This is really obviously an important step to move forward with things, and I support the recommendation fully. So I will move the rather wordy resolution that's before us this evening.
Seconder, please. Tom. All in favor? All opposed? Motion approved. Thank you. Next item. Amending the user fees. Darlene, give us the background on this, please.
We've been trying to get the user fee bylaw in front of council for a couple of years, well, almost 3 years now. But due to staffing issues and myself not being here, we have finally updated the bylaw. Thank you very much to Vanessa for doing all of the hard work. And all of the department heads have reviewed their sections to ensure that they're happy with the changes. And therefore, we just want to move forward with the changes. What I would like is if you would, Vicki has supplied her rationale for her changes. So if she could have a chance to kind of review those, and then maybe we would move forward with the recommendation to pass the new fee and schedule bylaw.
Vicki, can you add to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. So there was a need when I looked at our section to do some housekeeping with the current fee structure. There was a multiple options presented with different rates. It was difficult for staff to determine which fee to charge. And there was a lot of flexibility in deviating away from that structure. So I have spent actually since early on when I came here, analyzing it, looking at other neighboring municipalities, and just trying to get a common ground in a common area to simplify how it looks. Most of the fees have not really changed, and in comparison, our township is right in par with neighboring municipalities of our size. There was some costs that are, that I did alter or change from. So most times, for instance, when you rent a hall or a room, you get the kitchen, you get the coffee urns and stuff at no additional fee. But if you're hosting an additional bar, there is a nominal fee that cost of bringing in extra staff that we should, add that extra onto our rental. I also put in things like if a caterer requested just to use our commercial kitchen, just for a standalone fee, just outside of of renting that facility, just for their catering. The department also eliminated the catering fee that was included because it didn't reflect the fluctuating food cost. And if people had a different meal, it was just a standard price in the bylaw. So we just had some difficulty being fixed on that previous rate. The ice rentals, the facility rentals, it was just a matter of housekeeping and cleaning it up. So they're defined by prime time, non-prime time, local youth rates, and then outside user youth rates to improve that consistency and to help it make it easier for our department to approximate revenues for budgeting. The floor rates were actually high for our community, like the slab rates for adults in comparison. So that was one that you might notice that is a lower cost presented. The parks rental rates have been non-existent for youth, and therefore there was a small additional fee presented in the bylaw for that. The preference to book fields per use, like a block contract, like we've been presenting for the ICE contracts, and not just a flat seasonal rate. So then our staff knows when the fields are actually being used, that we know each day. But the biggest and probably the most important addition to the use is the facility liability coverage. So municipalities face liability exposure each time the venues are used by a third-party renter. Although most events are held without incident, it only takes one unfortunate claim to generate a loss large enough to test the coverage under the municipality's master liability policy. So it's important for the township to transfer the risk in the way of a user group program to minimize their direct risk of claim. The policy covers any individual or group renting a municipal facility to run an event or an activity. This coverage is for the resident who would otherwise not have insurance in place, or they're not affiliated with an association. So the coverage is in place to protect the residents of the community and to provide coverage for the person in control of the event. This is a cost recovery to the municipality, and the surcharges outlined in the fees bylaw are directly taken from the insurance provider. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. You've looked at that in detail. Darlene, keep going.
So at this time, I would like to request that council approve the recommendation so that we can put the new fees in place and get our fees bylaw up to date.
Okay, anyone with questions or comments? Go ahead, Sheila. You're muted. You're muted, Sheila.
Sorry. I would make a motion to approve it, but if somebody would second it, I do have a question.
Will anyone second that motion? Carl, go ahead, Sheila.
A question too, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is to Vicky. Just curious, Vicky, why the rental rate for a wedding with or without bar is the same? Just curious. If we have no bar, then we don't need staff for a bar. Is that not correct?
Yes, so there would be an additional $50 charge for if they required the bar.
Okay, but the rates are both the same in this fee. It's like, for instance, rental, wedding, reception, no bar at Douro Community in the Wellington Room is $400. Wedding reception with bar, $400.
So the staff would add the additional bar requested, $50. Where it says the 50.
Oh, okay. All right. So
We
it's
would
that's a
add that.
separate item. Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Okay.
That's my question.
Thank you, Sheila. Go ahead, Carl.
Thanks very much, Darlene and Vicky. From you, Vicky, I heard that basically the fees have not changed. There's some minor adjustments, but you've tidied up the, that was going to be my question. Could you tell me more about what arrangements are made now for the catering? If somebody wants to rent the room and they want to have a dinner, how do we approach it, and what is charged?
Currently, when I reviewed the past practices and the past use of catering, it didn't seem to be a successful adventure for the township to be in. And perhaps based on the rate that was indicated in our fees, whether you had a lasagna dinner or a roast beef dinner, it was just that one flat rate we were binded to. So moving forward, we do have an opportunity with our current facility user and our food vendor that we could offer catering through their services. And it's a decision of the township whether we want to be in that business or subcontract it out to others in that business.
So in other words, there's perhaps an opportunity there, but we need more time to develop it in more detail.
Correct.
Thank you. One further request. Your report on line 2 makes reference to a comprehensive internal study. I support the motion, but I would appreciate a copy of that comprehensive internal study.
Sure, I can provide that for you.
Thank you. Just email it to me.
Anybody else? That motion is on the floor, is duly seconded. Darlene, was there anything you needed to add, or we'll go for the vote?
No, I appreciate council's consideration, and I look forward to getting this project done.
And a little housekeeping going on here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And again, I really want to say thank you to Vanessa.
Good. Vanessa, thank you. Call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Thank you very much, Darlene. Okay, we're going to move to community minutes and other reports. Now, first of all, Deputy Mayor Moher, an update on council matters. First of all, 10.1. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. Just a couple items, 2 or 3 items here. One of the committees I'm on is Age Friendly Peterborough, and with all the COVID things going on and the care by long-term care, especially privately owned long-term care, the Age Friendly Committee have been very active in presenting information to the province that when they start studying what needs to be done, they're going to have a fair amount of discussion about to include suggestions in the recommendations. So that's local people getting involved with it. The next item is you would have all noticed the improvements that are going on in County Road 4. Certainly that's not done yet, but there will be improvements there on the Peterborough end of that County Road in the Douro ward. Also, traffic master plan, the county are going through that right now, so keep an eye out for those public meetings. And I would encourage staff and councillors to provide input, make yourself known, because that traffic getting around Greater Peterborough is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. You'll notice in the press that our clear bags that was not started in this township, but second to start, is starting to catch on in other municipalities, and looks like all Peterborough County will be clear bagged by the end of 2020. And even the city is considering clear bags, but it may be a couple of years before that happens. But the pressure is on them. And my last item is the swing bridge on Park Hill Road. There's notice from Trent Severn Waterway that the Warsaw Swing Bridge at Park Hill Road East in Peterborough is going to be closed in October. And as I read the announcement, it appears that it could be closed for all of winter. So I would assume we'll be getting more details on that, Martina, because it probably should be of interest to our ratepayers, because a good portion of our ratepayers use that bridge each and every day. So just for information, I can send you details if you need it, Martina, of what I have so far. And that's it for Peterborough County.
Good.
If there's
Thank
any
you, Carl.
questions?
I might also point out that the county is certainly looking at doing its best to get back to whatever normal is, talking about live meetings again, but certainly in no hurry whatsoever to do so. So staff are currently looking at the alternatives. They took a survey and it appears to be about a 50-50 split. Personally, I think if we have to err on the side of caution, so be it. We don't know what's going to be happening this fall, and I think we all better be cognizant of what we might be dealing with. That's it for that report. Tom, go ahead.
Carl, just one thing. Thank you for that report. That was very useful for a lot of things there, because we do get asked questions of that. The County Road 4, it's coming along very, very well, and I notice they've got a lot of the topping on from I think county or our Township Road 8 in Douro on into Donwood. I have been asked a few times though, coming back towards Warsaw, it's pretty good. Going towards Peterborough, it seems like it's really up and down, like there's a couple of dips in it and some stuff. So I don't know if that's a final coat on there, but I said, if anything come up, I would ask and see, because either that or the heat, the sun smooths it down, because I mean, the rest of it from the Township Road 8 to the four-way new lights there is great. So I just needed to pass it on. I don't need an answer now, but
Same situation is going on County Road 40. It settles and then they put another coat on top. So that question has been dealt with a couple of times. Carl?
Okay.
Okay.
I think county, I think you'll find that if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the capital budget in front of me, but the County Road 4, right from the village of Warsaw, right to Highway 28, there's sections in there that are getting pretty bad, because like we live 3 kilometers north of the Warsaw Road, and depending on the wind blowing, we can hear the cars that are hitting the bumps as they travel across that road. We also could tell how fast they're going by how many bumps they hit in a minute. So it's I think it gets to a point that it's not recoverable, so they let it go until it's that bad that you have to replace it in total. But I believe it's on the agenda for replacement in total.
Okay, could I have a motion, please, to receive that county report, please? Heather and Tom, all in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? Motion is approved. The next item is the departmental reports, 10.2.1 to 10.2.6. I'm going to have one motion to receive them all. You've all had them in your package. And again, a reminder to anyone watching, all of those reports are available on the webpage. So we are going to have one motion to receive all those. Very, very helpful. It gives us a good cross-section as to what's happening in all our departments. Go ahead, Heather. You're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. I will move to receive all of those. Just a clarification on 10.2.1, the header across the top of that wasn't complete in our package. But otherwise I'll move to receive all those.
Go to seconder, please.
I would second it if I might ask a question.
I have
Okay,
a question too, Mr. Mayor.
that is a seconder. Go ahead. Heather, you want that cleared up first? Martina, can you? No, you're okay with that? Okay. Okay. no,
Sorry, I saw a nod from Martina. I think she knows it was just a
got it.
typo clarification. It's fine.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yes, just through you to Jake, regarding the green bin and the waste like at Warsaw, how long will it be staying, Jake? Do you know? Till late in the fall?
Yes, Councillor Landsman, it's, we have 7 bins that the county pays for. And we are on, or 7 dumps of the bin, I guess you would say. And we are on our 4th bin now. So I believe we'll be, we'll have lots of room to run it right into the late fall.
So
That's
they only
appreciated.
stay as long as we, up to the 7 dumps.
Well, that's what they provide. And then in the past, we have kept it for an additional couple of dumps as well.
Okay, thank you.
It's very much appreciated by people, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
Carl, go ahead.
Thank you. I got a couple of questions, Mr. Mayor, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, Martina, you must have put your report together late at night because it says from pick a name. That's good.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Moher, that's the same error that Councillor Watson had picked up as well.
Okay. I think one of the questions that I have, and I just, out of curiosity, had a meeting with MTO regarding changes to legislation regarding off-road vehicles on municipal roadways. Are there something coming down the pipe here that you will be hearing about soon, or is it
Through
still a
you,
mystery?
Mr. Mayor, there are changes coming from MTO regarding off-road vehicles. They're changing the definition of off-road vehicles. So they're expanding the types of vehicles that are considered off-road
Okay,
to include side-by-sides and other types of vehicles and dirt bikes.
right.
Because of those changes, we will be opening up our off-road vehicle bylaw that which allows some off-road vehicles to use the 12th line of Dummer and Simpson Road to reflect the changes made by the province. So you will see some information on that coming forward. We wouldn't want to do a whole scale, we wouldn't want to present a whole scale transformation of that system at the moment because we would like to do public consultation, but that would come to council in the future. So.
And by the way, just to jump in about public consultation, that is indeed what's going on right now with the county transportation plan. That's available through our website or the counties, and they are now soliciting comments on that very subject. So it's important that everyone who is concerned about that should look up that web posting and get your comments in. Sorry, Carl, finish off.
Okay, a couple more questions. I really appreciate these reports. I thank senior staff for presenting them. They're very helpful. It gets me up to speed about some of the tidbits that are going on. One of the things is the building services. I'm just wondering, are we getting caught up there? I think there was a time because it was shut down from April through to May. Do they feel comfortable that we're getting caught up? Because there has been some frustration with some builders.
Martina, or Brian's not with us, I guess. No.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, Brian's not on the line with us. So I'll leave him to speak at a future meeting about his department. But I will say that we have been receiving lots of correspondence from those who are interested in projects. And at the moment, the types of projects we're seeing are small additions, decks, garages, and other projects being done by homeowners. Because they're being done by homeowners as opposed to general contractors or those with lots of expertise, we are providing a lot more back and forth and advisement than we would typically be providing. So it has increased our level of correspondence we've been dealing with.
Okay. And one other is on Vicky's report, working on possible long-term lease agreement. Is that good news that perhaps a major user from the city considering Douro or Warsaw Community Center?
Becky?
Thank you through your worship. That is a possible lease agreement with our food truck as a long-term
Okay,
venue for us. And I hope to have a report at the next or upcoming council on that.
so no, with the closure of the arena in city, it hasn't generated any additional interest in our community centers so far.
Not at this time.
Okay. And the last question is for Vic or for Jake. I'm just wondering, you know, in your report, you included the consultant was in for a week. Was it helpful for staff? Are you planning to get the consultant back for further experience for the staff, or how is that going?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Moore. It was the consultant was in for approximately a week, and it was well accepted from staff. He gave some good pointers to the grader operators. They gave us some tips on being able to make a small ditch with the grader instead of implementing new equipment out to do it at a later date. So it was well received, and yes, the consultant will be back later in the fall for our fall grading.
Good.
Good news.
That was it.
Final comment. Sheila, go ahead. Okay, you're muted anyway, but I'm seeing you shake your head.
Sorry, my question was answered. It was only to say that there was a list of the off-road items on the county website.
Good. Okay, going to call for the vote on that motion to receive those items. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Okay, we move ahead to bylaws now. And Martina, who would you like to review the bylaws?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I
Oh,
believe
sorry.
we may have
Planning
missed an
Committee, I'm
item.
sorry. Yes, you'd be, someone would pick that out in a hurry that I missed it. Planning Committee minutes, August 7. Motion to receive those and approve them, please. Tom and Sheila, all in favor? All opposed? Good, approved. Bylaws, Martina, what were you trying to say? Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can present each of the bylaws individually, but I would like to just amend all of them at the same time to note to council that the bylaws in your package have the clerk's signature on them. She's unavailable to attend this meeting today, so I will be signing them. So they'll be read deputy clerk as opposed to clerk.
Okay, if you would just give a brief highlight to each bylaw and we'll move on.
Absolutely. So first bylaw 2020-47 is the bylaw to officially appoint Jake as the manager of public works. If it was approved, it would take effect today. Bylaw 2020-48 is a bylaw to appoint a new member to the Donwood Parks Committee. Mark Porter, he's come forward and would like to sit on that committee. So that would be good. And it would also clean up the bylaw to list Vicky as a staff contact. Bylaw 2020-49 amends the library board membership to remove one member who has other things that they would like to do and is no longer able to sit on the committee. And then bylaw 2020-50 is to approve the amended user fees that council has already received earlier in the meeting.
Okay, that's a great summary. So one motion to approve the bylaws, please. Heather and Carl is the seconder. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. The bylaws are approved. We have a couple of action items under correspondence. The Municipality of West Gray anti-racism resolution. What is your decision on that one, to receive or to support? To receive or to support? Sheila, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to receive it.
Okay, to receive, will anyone second that motion? Tom? Okay, that motion is on the floor to receive. All in favor? All opposed?
You opposed, Sheila?
You're opposed? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Peterborough County, this is a notice of study commencement of the Transportation Master Plan update. That's what we talked about earlier. All kinds of subjects are on that one. It's a very, very lengthy, detailed project, and we urge everyone to get on the websites and find out what's involved and hopefully have some comments. That's action items. And what is your favor? Go ahead, Tom. You're muted. You're muted, Tom.
Motion to receive and support.
Receive and support from Tom, seconder. Carl, all in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Information items, approval of the livestock damage claims by wolves or bears. Carl.
Moved.
Okay, Carl, seconder. Heather, all in favor? All opposed? Motion approved. We have no accounts. We have no notices of motion. We have any announcements, any community announcements anyone has to make? Tom?
I would just like to pass on a thank you to the work Selwyn has done by our health center. They've done a great job on the road up there. It was a lot of work put into it, and they've got a lot of good comments on that so far of how much better it is for coming over there.
Anybody else? Okay, moving along, no closed session. Confirming bylaw 2020-51, please. Carl, Sheila, all in favor? All opposed? Motion approved. And a motion to, well, before a motion to adjourn, I want to thank Vanessa and Nicole, who are lingering here in the background. It is the first time they've been kind of in charge of our Zoom session, and they did a very, very good job. It's not as easy as it might look. And Vanessa and Nicole, we just want to thank you and welcome to the Zoom team. You did a good job. Thank you. Have a motion to adjourn, please. Heather and Sheila, all in favor? All opposed? Motion approved. And we'll say goodnight to each and every one of you watching live or in the recorded version of our meeting. Please, everyone, stay safe. And thank you on behalf of the Township of Douro-Dummer. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night,
Night.
all.
Bye.